What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what's moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor's down 6.56%, 732 the low, 810 the high, and somewhat low volumes. 171 million shares being traded, 387 is the average. No news from Opendoor today, no SEC filings. There was a 144 that was submitted after hours yesterday, but I've already brought that up in a previous video where I kind of went over what it was all about and blah, blah, blah. So if you're interested, kind of listen to that video. But as far as today, on a macro standpoint, we did have a lot of S&P data. So composite manufacturing services, somewhat mixed. So composite came in a little bit lower, manufacturing in line, and then services a little bit higher. We did have the also Richmond manufacturing index coming in at -17. Forecast was -10. So it goes to show that there was a little bit less growth than what was anticipated. But nonetheless, that didn't really move the market all that much. It did move this slightly. So now there is a 91.9% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for the October 29th meeting. So at the end of the day, I don't feel like this has been fully priced into the market just yet. Once we get into kind of October and we get a new rush of labor linked data, then the market might start to price this in, which should really propel things significantly higher. Aside from that though, you did have Kaz kind of mention that there was going to be a big launch coming. So he says, just reviewed a product we will launch in the next week or so. Super excited. So this has a lot of people speculating on what that could potentially be. Some are even saying that there might be a big partnership and a merger coming with of course, ticker BETR. And I think some of that is just because of Eric. This is the new stock that Eric is pumping. So the next 10 or 100 bagger, whatever he's calling it. But I don't really see that being on the table. And if so, if somehow BETR and Opendoor do partner and merge, I see that as a fairly big negative, right? Because Opendoor is not profitable, BETR is not profitable. Merging two doesn't automatically help anyone, right? Even though a lot of their products would essentially align, it just kind of logistically, it wouldn't be good whatsoever, in my opinion. And then as well, one thing that he did also bring up that I mentioned in my video yesterday, that they might in the foreseeable future be looking at expanding to Canada. So I think that could be a unique kind of circumstance. I don't know how well that would be, and for coming from a regulatory standpoint, if that's even possible. But at the time of doing this video, shorts are, looks like, increasing about 5.4 million shares. So shorts have been fairly active today. But then again, as I've mentioned in the past, that is net. So they trade back and forth. There's about 250,000 shares available to be shorted for Opendoor. So again, you could be seeing some buying from big players because they love to buy stock just to lend out. So that could be potentially happening later. But aside from that, looking at the options, we are seeing 49 million in calls, 28 million in puts. So I know a lot of people see the stock price in the red today and just assume like it's done, rest in peace type of scenario. Options activity kind of shows a different picture. And not only that though, 47% of all the options being done are bullish in nature. So there's a certain level of optimism on the table. Even net premiums is increasing 2.5 million today. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $10 range and above. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of 650 to 7. And I think a lot of that has to do with kind of the big support and resistance points. So right now with it at 784, it is trading between this R3 and this R2. So the bears are anticipating for it to be pretty much close to that R2, so 658. Flip side, bulls are anticipating for it to recover past that 818 and then move on higher. I'm looking at the one-day chart on a side note. So these are very strong support and resistance points. I think generally speaking, Opendoor has done fairly well over the last little bit. I don't need to tell you that, but it was showing signs that it was going to kind of break. And this is why I did even post on my Patreon, because even way back when it was at, I think 3 something, I said that $10 is realistic, and it did come to fruition. And since that did hit, I gave an update, said that it was going to most likely consolidate to that 844 range, which it did hit. But I did give a secondary thing dependent on like lack of catalyst. It might even hit that kind of 650. So we'll have to wait and see. I think that hint from Kaz, what he mentioned for a new product, that could be that good catalyst to push it above that 10-day moving average. So 10-day moving average is often enough seen as that momentum kind of switch up. So if it is able to get above that, then things should be pretty good. A nice recovery might be on the horizon. I think Opendoor right now is still a very big momentum play, and with lower volume, this is why you're seeing kind of a push lower at the end of the day. And might be unpopular opinion, but because of all of the crap that did happen yesterday, because normally a 144 coming out shouldn't cause all of this mass panic, but a lot of people have been really pointing that Eric is the culprit on all of this kind of going down, and as well as to a lesser extent Kaz. I think just because of that, this is kind of the negative side of a cult like following, because with a cult, if you go against the cult mentality, or if the cult feels like you've wronged them in some way, you're going to be public enemy number one. So this is why I see a lot of people really going after Eric. And to be fully honest, like, I'm not really a overly big fan of him. I think in general, any stock, momentum stock, you do need a leader of a kind of sort, but that leader needs to like stay neutral and only talk about the stock, one stock ideally, and talk when it comes down to it, like the fundamentals. Don't start saying, hey, you know what, blah, 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 you're an asshole, racial things. Like, he needs to just, if Eric is going to be kind of the open army leader, he needs to really just calm his ass down. I even for once watched his video early this morning. I think he posted something. He posts way too much on a side note. I don't know what he does. I guess he's in front of Drake's house all the time, but he's posting a ton. But nonetheless, he did a video somewhere here where he went over and kind of just slammed a bunch of people first thing. Like, you shouldn't be doing that, and you shouldn't be posting this much. Like, just talk about the fundamentals and let just things do its thing, in my opinion. But what do I know in life? Clearly, I'm not an Opendoor leader. I don't want to be. I'm just here analyzing the data. So it's pretty simple. I'm here to make money. That's plain as day. So aside from that, these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So you are seeing somewhat mixed, a lot of buying, a lot of selling, but it seems to be going in waves. So you have a lot of selling, and then you have a lot of buying. So it's kind of going back and forth. So nothing really too crazy, no set trend. Aside from that, these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So dark pool is often enough used by shorts as well as hedge funds. And even if I sort this based on premiums, you see some pretty big ones. So a lot of 1.58, 1.3, 1.6. So that goes to show that hedge funds are at least trading it and interacting with it. But like I said, I think for right now, it is going to just follow the technicals. And until Kaz puts out some news, then I feel like it might be kind of just set within this range between this R3 and this R2. So let me know your general thoughts on Opendoor. When it comes down to Kaz mentioning a new launch coming in the next week or so, what do you think that could realistically be? Because he's already expanded to the lower 48, and they've already done a lot of PRs about that. See a lot of articles talking about it. But what do you think that this could be potentially? And what do you think could get analysts on board with Opendoor? Do you think it's going to be them talking about profitability or not? Like, what's your kind of thoughts? The latest rating that did come out yesterday, one thing I didn't bring up is Ryan, who has a 46% success rating, kind of did Opendoor a little bit dirty and actually just said it's straight up garbage. So definitely some harsh words in my opinion, but I guess for him having 46% success rating, he's rather cocky. I'm not really sure. So that's a quick summary of what is affecting Opendoor today. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, if you are looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.